Picture this: a man who once seemed untouchable, independent, maybe even a little careless with love, suddenly starts to change in ways no one expects. He's not doing it because someone asked him to, not because he wants to look good, but because he's found her. The one woman who shifts his world. And the truth is, men don't transform easily, but when they do, when they're truly in love, their actions become louder than their words. Today, I want to reveal the things a man will only do when he's in love. Signs so powerful that you'll never have to doubt his feelings again. When a man falls in love, you'll notice something subtle but powerful. His priorities begin to shift. The things that used to drive his schedule, the late nights with friends, the endless chasing of his own agenda, suddenly don't hold the same weight anymore. It's not that he stops caring about his own life, it's that you start to become part of how he measures his happiness. He begins to think, if I make this choice, how will it affect her? How will it make her feel? And that's not something a man does for just anyone. Most of the time, men operate in their own orbit. But when love enters the picture, his orbit expands to include you. You'll see it in the little things: canceling plans to be there for you when you've had a rough day, making time in a schedule that seemed impossible, or even adjusting his own goals so that they align with yours. That shift in priority is not casual affection. That is love carving out space in his life, and he's showing you, without even saying it, that you matter more than anything else. One of the clearest signs you'll notice is the way he listens, not the surface-level kind of listening where he nods and says, "uh-huh," while his mind is somewhere else, but the kind that makes you feel like you're the only voice in the room. He remembers the little things you say, the random story about your childhood, the way you like your coffee, the stress you mentioned about work weeks ago. And he brings it back up later, not because he's trying to score points, but because it mattered to you, so it matters to him. That's the difference between attention and affection. Anyone can hear your words, but a man in love hears your heart. He picks up on the pauses, the tone, the unspoken things you didn't even realize you were communicating. And it's in those moments that you feel seen, not just heard. That level of listening doesn't come from obligation, it comes from love. Because when he truly cares, your voice becomes his priority, your feelings become his focus, and he can't help but tune in. Like his entire connection with you depends on it. And then there's the way he protects you. Not just in the obvious sense of stepping in if someone disrespects you, but in the quiet, everyday moments where his presence makes you feel safe. He protects your emotions by being careful with his words, by making sure he doesn't dismiss your feelings, by showing you that your heart is something he values. He protects your energy by noticing when you're overwhelmed and stepping in to lighten the load, even if it means carrying more himself. And yes, if life ever throws a storm your way, he's the one who instinctively moves closer, not away, because your pain feels like his pain. A man can be strong on the outside, but when he loves, his strength becomes about more than himself. It becomes about creating a space where you feel secure enough to be vulnerable, where you can let your guard down because you know he'll be standing right there to catch you if you fall. That kind of protection doesn't come from ego, it comes from love. The kind of love that makes him see your safety, your peace, your well-being as his own responsibility. What really separates love from everything else is when a man allows himself to be vulnerable with you. Because let's be honest, men are taught from the very beginning to be strong, to hold it together, to never let anyone see the cracks. But when he loves you, he starts to lower those walls. He tells you the things he doesn't tell anyone else, the fears he hides behind his confidence. the insecurities he masks with a smile, the dreams he doesn't share because he's scared they might sound foolish. He lets you into that private world, the part of him that he normally protects at all costs. And it's not weakness, it's the ultimate sign of trust, because giving someone access to the parts of yourself you usually keep hidden is one of the most intimate gifts you can give. When a man loves you, he stops pretending to be invincible and allows you to see the human behind the armor. And that vulnerability is his way of saying, I trust you with the real me. And then comes something even more telling. He starts making sacrifices. Not the kind that feel forced or come with resentment, but the kind he chooses willingly because your happiness matters to him. It might be small things like watching the show you love instead of the one he was dying to see, or rearranging his schedule so he can show up for you when you need him. Sometimes it's bigger, like adjusting his own plans, his routines, even his comfort zone, just so the two of you can move forward together. And here's the difference. A man who's just infatuated will do things for you as long as it's convenient. But a man who truly loves you will give up convenience. He'll step into discomfort, because what he gains by seeing you happy is worth far more than anything he's giving up. That's when you know it's real, when sacrifice doesn't feel like a loss to him. It feels like love in action. And perhaps the clearest sign of all is how he begins to think about the future, not just his future, but yours together. Suddenly, he's not talking about what he's doing next weekend. He's talking about where you both might travel next year. He's not just making decisions for himself anymore. He's asking questions like, would this work for us? He starts to build a vision where you're not an addition, you're at the center of it. A man in love doesn't see commitment as a cage, he sees it as a canvas, an opportunity to create something bigger than himself. He'll talk about where you might live, what kind of life you could build, the dreams you could chase side by side. And it's not empty talk, because his actions start to line up with it, saving, planning, preparing, always with you in mind. When a man loves, the future stops being a solo journey, it becomes a shared adventure. And that's when you know he's not just here for now, he's here for forever. Another thing you'll notice is how he celebrates your growth. He's not intimidated by your ambition, he's inspired by it. When you achieve something, no matter how big or small, he's the first one cheering the loudest, the one bragging about you to others, the one reminding you how far you've come when you doubt yourself. And it's not just about celebrating the wins, he also stands by you during the process, when things are messy, when you're doubting yourself, when you're putting in the hard work that nobody else sees. A man who loves you doesn't compete with your success, he contributes to it. He becomes your biggest fan, your sounding board, your support system. Because your growth doesn't threaten him, it excites him. To him, your evolution only makes the relationship stronger, and he feels proud to be walking beside a woman who keeps rising higher. That's the kind of support that only comes from love, the kind that wants to see you shine, even brighter than before. One of the most underrated but powerful signs of real love is the way a man respects your boundaries. And I'm not just talking about the obvious things like giving you space when you say you need it, or not crossing lines you've clearly drawn. I mean the deeper kind of respect, the understanding that you are your own person, with your own rhythm, your own individuality, your own life outside of him. See, when a man doesn't truly love, he often tries to mold you into what he wants, what fits his comfort, what serves his ego. But when a man loves you, he honors the fact that you're not his possession, you're his partner. It shows up in subtle ways. He doesn't get threatened when you need time for yourself. He doesn't sulk when you choose a night with your friends over him. He doesn't punish you emotionally when you draw a line, when you say, "This is important to me," or "I'm not comfortable with that." Instead, he listens, he adapts, and he shows you through his actions that your boundaries are not obstacles. They are maps that guide him to love you better. And here's the thing, respecting boundaries is not always easy, because love makes us want closeness. It makes us crave constant connection. But a man who truly loves you recognizes that closeness without respect becomes control. He knows that if he ignores your limits, he doesn't just risk your trust, he risks the very foundation of the relationship. So, he chooses respect every time. Think about this. When you say no to something, and instead of pushing harder, instead of trying to persuade, he steps back and honors that no. That's love. When you need space to process your feelings, and he doesn't take it personally or use it as a reason to withdraw, but instead gives you the room you asked for, that's love. When you set a standard for how you expect to be treated, and he doesn't argue with it or try to lower the bar, but instead rises to meet it, that's love. A man in love knows that your boundaries aren't walls designed to keep him out. They're doors that allow him deeper access to your heart when he proves he can be trusted. And this is what makes the difference. He doesn't see your independence as a threat. He sees it as a strength. He doesn't see your standards as too much. He sees them as a guide to how much you value yourself, and he wants to match that. This respect shows up in conversations too. When you're upset and you tell him you need a moment before talking, he doesn't force you into a conversation you're not ready for. He lets you breathe, and when you are ready, he's there to listen without holding your space against you. When you're pursuing something important to you, whether it's your career, your hobbies, or even just time for self-care, he doesn't guilt you into choosing him instead. He supports it, he encourages it, and he gives you the freedom to be fully you. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Respecting boundaries in love isn't just about listening when you say no. It's about anticipating the areas where you need care. He starts to learn your cues, your signals, your patterns. He can tell when you're overwhelmed, and instead of pushing harder for attention, he gives you the space to recharge. He knows when you're uncomfortable in a situation, and without you even having to say a word, he steps in to support you or help you step away. That kind of sensitivity comes from a place of love, not control. Because ultimately, love isn't about merging into one person and losing your identity. Love is about two individuals choosing each other while still maintaining who they are. And when a man respects your boundaries, he's saying, "I love you enough to let you be you. I don't need to change you. I just want to support you." That's rare, because so many relationships fall apart not from a lack of love, but from a lack of respect. But when a man is truly in love, he learns that honoring your individuality, your independence, and your personal space doesn't weaken the bond, it strengthens it. Because you start to feel safe, not just emotionally, but safe to be yourself, safe to express your needs without fear, safe to stand tall in your standards because you know he won't punish you for them, and when you feel safe, you open up more. You love more freely, you trust more deeply, and that cycle of respect and trust builds a connection that doesn't just last a season, it lasts a lifetime. That's the beauty of it. A man who loves you will never see your boundaries as a rejection of him, but as an invitation to treat you with the care you deserve. And he will step into that invitation again and again, because the more he respects your boundaries, the more he earns your love. And for him, that is everything. One of the clearest ways you can tell a man's love is real is by looking at his consistency. Because let's face it, in the beginning, almost anyone can show up. Anyone can send the good morning texts, plan the fun dates, say all the right things when it's new and exciting. But consistency isn't tested in the easy times. It's tested when it's inconvenient, when he's tired, when life gets busy, when it would be simpler for him to pull away. That's when love shows up, or it doesn't. A man who's just there for the thrill will fade the moment it stops being effortless. But a man who loves you will continue to show up, not just when it's fun, but when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when it costs him effort. And here's the beauty of it. Consistency is not about grand gestures. It's about the little actions repeated over time that build trust. It's the check-in call when he knows you had a stressful day. It's the way he keeps promises, even the small ones. It's the fact that his words match his actions again and again until you don't have to wonder if he'll be there. You just know. That reliability is love in motion. Because when he loves you, he understands that showing up when it's convenient is easy, but showing up when it's not is what makes you feel secure. And what's powerful about this kind of consistency is that it removes the guessing game. You're not left wondering if today he'll be hot or cold, if this week he'll be invested or distracted. You feel grounded because his presence doesn't fluctuate with his mood or his schedule. He's not just convenient company, he's committed company. And that kind of steadiness isn't just comforting, it's magnetic. Because deep down, we all crave the kind of love that doesn't make us question whether we're chosen today. A man who truly loves you will prove, day in and day out, that his choice of you isn't seasonal, it's constant. And finally, when a man truly loves you, he keeps choosing you, again and again, every single day. Not just in the grand moments, when it's obvious, not just when the relationship feels new and exciting, but in the quiet, ordinary moments where love is tested most. Because real love isn't just about the initial spark, it's about the decision to nurture it, to protect it, to recommit to it even when life throws distractions, challenges, or temptations his way. And that daily choice is what separates love that lasts from love that fades. You see it in the way he still reaches for your hand years later, the way he still makes an effort to surprise you even when routine could have easily taken over, the way he looks at you and chooses to appreciate you rather than take you for granted. He doesn't assume love will sustain itself. He invests in it. He puts in the effort not because he has to, but because you are worth it. And every act, big or small, becomes his way of saying, I choose you today, just like I did yesterday, and just like I will tomorrow. That's the deepest expression of love, not the fireworks at the start, but the steady flame that never goes out because he keeps feeding it with intention. And when you see that in a man, you never have to question his feelings, because his choice of you isn't something he made once, it's something he continues to make day after day for as long as he's in your life. And when you step back and look at it all, you start to see the picture clearly. Love isn't just about what a man says, it's about what he does. It's in the way he shifts his priorities, the way he listens, the way he protects, the way he opens up his heart, the sacrifices he makes, the future he builds with you, the way he celebrates your growth, respects your boundaries, shows up with consistency, and continues to choose you day after day. Those things can't be faked. They can't be performed for long, because they come from a place much deeper than attraction or infatuation. They come from real love. And when you find a man who shows you these signs, you'll know, without needing reassurance, without second guessing, that his love is not just words. It's woven into every part of how he lives with you, how he sees you, and how he chooses you. That is the kind of love worth holding on to.